Welcome to episode 287 of In Touch with iOS, the show that talks about iPhone, iPad, Apple Watch, Apple TV, and related technologies. I'm your host, Dave Ginsburg, and I can't believe it. Guy Serle's back on the show. We missed you, buddy.
Hey, good to be back. I actually wanted to go on Chuck's show on Tuesday night, but by the time I remembered, it was already like 8:30. It was like, okay, I'm not going to be that guy. So
I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
And I'm so glad Ben Roethig made it. I know he's having some, may not be able to make it, but he's here. So how you doing, Ben?
Yep. It's been a trying week, but I am so ready to talk about Apple news.
Awesome. And last but certainly not least, Jeff Gamet. So glad you're here. How you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm glad to be here. I don't know if I'll be able to make it tonight. We'll see.
Understood.
I was just feeling left out.
Yeah. That's still glad you're still here. So happy New Year to everybody. This is the first show of 2024. I'm so excited to start off a brand new year with the show. We're going on our, what is this? This is our 8th year, I think. 8th or 9th, 2016 we started the show. Yeah, so we're going gangbusters here. So it's been quite a few years of us sharing all of our fun and knowledge and info about Apple and related.
And then all the stuff that I bring.
And then there's Guy bring all the stuff he brings.
Mostly Mike's.
Yeah.
So with the new year, we're going to change a little bit of the format this week. This year, I'm going to start right on with topics, and we're going to put the news down towards the end of the show. So I thought it would be a lot of fun to kind of mix it up here, see how this goes. And so let's dive into the topics. So as I always talk about on topics is beta. This was a kind of an interesting week here. Apple released iOS 17.3 beta 2, and within a matter of hours, people were complaining about it was bricking their iPhones. I hope that didn't happen to you, Ben, but
no.
Shortly thereafter, Apple pulled the beta 2 from release. It was a boot loop issue is what the issue was. So the phone was continually booting. So that can't be good. So it doesn't seem like it happened to a lot of people, but I think Apple caught it pretty quickly. So we're still on beta 1 at this time, if you are still running beta. So be aware of that. As I always say, and I think we all say this here, do not put beta on your production device.
Right.
Yes. Do not be me. Do not be me.
Here's the exact reason not to. Link in the show notes for some of the information that was out there. It was quite interesting. But the other betas are still out as well. tvOS 17.3 and watchOS 10.3. So there really hasn't been much of a difference when it comes to that with those devices. We'll see what happens next week. Maybe Apple will have it fixed by then, and we'll talk about it. And that's beta. So, all right. So one of the first topics I wanted to talk about here is there's been a lot of chatter about the fact that smartphone manufacturers still want to make the foldable phone a thing, and of course Samsung has their foldable, and of course who else has the foldable? A few other manufacturers.
Google, Huawei.
Oh yeah, Google, Huawei,
Oppo, OnePlus.
All the Android devices here. So it just seems to think everybody has one except Apple. But is there potential that Apple might be thinking about it and considering this? I find it. I'm sure they're looking at it. I'm sure it's something that they're considering, only because it is interesting. But I think the price point is really high on these devices right now. So I'm not sure where this is going to go. Like the Samsung Z Fold's like $1,800. Wow, we're talking about some pretty serious money here. Ben, I want to start off with you. What do you think? Do you think Apple's going to get into this market sooner or later?
That is the question. I mean, first off, the difference between Apple and the Android makers on this, the Android makers make their prototypes available to the public. Apple does it internally. If they think they can make the right device, Apple will put it out. I think there is definitely a market for it. It's rather high-end and niche.
Right.
But if you're that guy who really wants to have both an iPhone and an iPad mini in one device, I mean, $1,800 is about right on for what those two devices would be separately.
Yeah. And where technology is going to be. How about you, Guy? Would you buy a foldable phone if it ever comes out with Apple?
You know, this ever since people started talking about foldable phones, it just seemed to me like this was a solution in search of a problem. I don't really see what the advantage is of having a foldable phone, because so far with every single one that I've looked at or heard about, they all develop the little crease across where the two screens meet, each and every one of them. And when you're spending $1,800 to $2,500 on a phone and its biggest feature is flawed, what is the point? You know, I put a phone in my pocket because I want to do phone things. If I want to do something more, I'll break out my MacBook Pro or I'll break out my iPad. And quite frankly, I just don't see the point of these devices. You know, maybe could Apple make one that was worth the time and the effort and the expense to go out and get one? Because you can bet that whatever the other Android makers are charging, Apple's is going to be more expensive than that. So, right. I mean, we'll see if Apple even bothers with it. I'm sure they've got some prototypes floating around there, you know, but to me, it just seems like it's just not worth the time and the effort and expense.
Yeah. How about you, Jeff? Would you buy a foldable phone if it was Apple?
I would have to see the phone first. Based on what's available today, no, I would not. I would rather have a foldable iPad. And it could even be like two screens as opposed to having the bend in the display right in the middle. But yeah, I'm not seeing the use case for me. Now, I totally get that there are some people where a foldable phone makes sense. And as Ben said, we're talking about a very niche market. And as Guy said, of course, Apple has prototypes.
Yeah.
But what is the use case that would be that thing for Apple? Because they're not going to bring a product to market where they can't do something better than everyone else. There needs to be a substantial value from their perspective before they're going to bring something to market. And example going the other way, they exited the Wi-Fi market, the Wi-Fi router market, and that's because they no longer were offering something that really set their products apart. Right. I mean, I was hoping they'd buy Eero.
Me too.
That didn't happen.
I was just going to say, I would love to see what Apple would do with a mesh network as far as hardware goes. But I don't think we're going to see it because they just don't seem to want to go in that direction. And it's too bad because I think Apple could bring a lot to that market, especially making it, and it's not that it's that hard now, but making it really easy to set up. If for people who ever owned an airport, they were like stupid easy to set up. I mean, it was almost just plug and play, and you were online. Set your password, and you're all done. And if they could have brought something like that to a mesh network, I think it could have been big, but I guess they just didn't feel like it was worth the time and effort.
Yeah. Especially if you were fully integrated with Apple Home.
Yeah. Well, see, they exited that market before Apple Home was even a thing. So
right, they didn't even exist, right?
Yeah, and let's face it, Apple Home isn't exactly a walk in the park as far as ease of use goes either. And not that anybody else has anything much better. I've got a couple of those Wi-Fi power plug things that I use outside and a few other places.
Right.
And I get them to work, but if something goes wrong and I can't find the instructions for them, I'm hosed. It's like, well, I have to go out and spend another $20 or, whatever the heck, however much I spent on that cheap piece of Chinese crap and get another one and just take it from there. But home automation has the potential to be the next big thing, but nobody is doing it very well. Not even Apple.
Yeah. Spinning it back to the foldable
sorry.
phones. No, that's okay.
Hijack.
There was a quote from the CEO of Honor, one of the manufacturers of foldable phones. He seems to think that the foldable phones are going to be something of a standard at some point. And I find that to be, I think it's a long way. There's a quote in Ars Technica. Yeah, he says, "We believe foldables are the future of the smartphone devices, just like electric cars are to the auto industry." So we're approaching a crucial tipping point where foldables may soon become mainstream. They're far from becoming mainstream.
3D televisions.
Exactly.
But I mean, here's the thing on this. If you remember CES or what's a German one? But about 10 years ago, when the first very large screen phones were being introduced, people were laughing at Samsung for releasing 6 to 7 inch phones in a time when the iPhone was still 4 inches. Well, 10 years later.
Right.
Yeah.
But I think the big difference is a larger screen is a larger screen. Trying to merge two completely different displays into one and have them fold over onto each other is a whole different thing. And nobody's really done it well yet. And I think that's the main problem is that they can, like what you were saying, Ben, they put out their prototypes for people to buy. And the problem is when you do that, you leave a bad taste in people's mouths when they go ahead and put down their money and they end up with crap.
Yep. So this is gonna be interesting. I'm gonna be grabbing my box of popcorn and we're waiting and watching when this happens, because I think we're a long way away before Apple's going to even get even near to bringing it on to market. Until they've really perfected this device.
Well, I heard that USB-C thing is like coming along like gangbusters.
Oh, that's just crazy talk.
Crazy talk, yeah. We got that. So
FireWire, that's the future.
Yeah.
Funny, I've been cleaning up my closet file and got rid of like bags and bags of cables and stuff. Yeah. And I pulled out my old WWC drives with my FireWire connection. I got a FireWire cable back on my dock here to
you know what? I've got a FireWire 400 to 800 cable that cost me a mint back in the day. I look at it now and it's like, what am I going to do with this damn thing? And you hate to throw that kind of stuff away, but
frame it.
Oh, yeah. I just did it. So that's another topic. I don't want to go off the rails here.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and move on before we go on to a subtopic here. So it's gonna be interesting to see what happens, and we'll definitely be here to talk about it when it does happen here. So, I wanted to talk a little bit about AI. AI has just become just an insane discussion as of late when it comes to what it does, what it's going to do to us, and what it's been helping with people. Because I started using them a little more and want to get more into it. I've been kind of avoiding not getting into it right away, only because there's another thing we have to all learn, right? But we're going to have to at this point, because I think it's just becoming a crazy thing. Notably, what started a lot of this discussion is the fact that the New York Times was going to sue OpenAI and Microsoft, for that matter, which we'll talk about Microsoft's new product here in a minute, because of the threat of AI, and it poses a threat to the news industry. And there's a federal lawsuit against them to seek the end of the practice of using its stories to train its chatbots. And the Times said companies were threatening its livelihood by effectively stealing billions of dollars worth of work by its journalists, and in some cases spitting out Times's material verbatim to people who were seeking answers for generative artificial intelligence, like OpenAI and OpenAI's ChatGPT. But I guess my question was on this particular case is, and I don't see it ever mentioned in this article, is the fact that is it grabbing the information that's behind the New York Times' paywall? Because that's their protected information. That's what people are paying for to read. So I overall, I think this is definitely, I don't think it's going to be something they can stop. I mean, as long as it's widely available out onto the internet, how are you going to stop OpenAI being able to grab this information and learn and use it to answer the long questions that you ask it? Jeff, I'm starting with you this time. Where's your thoughts on this actual case with New York Times we'll talk about the other thing we were looking at on Tuesday too, but start with that with New York Times.
I will be following this closely, and I don't know if this involves content from behind their paywall or not.
Yeah, it doesn't mention
it. That I would love to know. I can see where the New York Times could present an argument that OpenAI is stealing from them, and I can see where OpenAI would come back and say, "No, look, this is just knowledge. These are just facts. So we're just feeding this information in so that it can then feed information back out to people with queries." I have a feeling part of what this is going to come down to is the argument that LLMs can only be derivative in nature. They can't do the same thing that humans do, where they can read data from multiple sources, and then humans extrapolate out from that, and they create new thoughts and new ideas. And they build on what they have learned. Yeah. LLMs don't do that. They just take the data in and then use a predictive algorithm to decide what word to put next based on the query you provided. So I'm going to be watching that very close, just to see how that argument plays out.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely, for sure. I just tried entering information. I asked about who this Guy Serle is, and it came back and says Guy Serle is a longtime Mac user since 1987, and is and an author who has written articles for mymac.com. No, I guess that's right.
Yeah, that's accurate.
What's your thoughts on this guy?
Quite frankly, most of what you get back currently, you could, as far as a query goes, you could get back almost as easily as just doing a Google search. Why the New York Times is getting all up in arms over technology that in the long run will probably save them a lot of money because it's going to end up replacing most of their reporters. I just don't get what it is that they think they're going to prove. I mean, all of the news industries have been downsizing for over 20 years now, and it's been technology that's done it. So, it's like poop or get off the pod. Make up your mind what it is that you want to do. If you want to have journalism like it was 30 years ago, and quite frankly, I think it was 10 times better than what we have right now, then do that. And don't engage in wholesale replacement of reporters and editors and everything else with technology, and then turn around and complain that the upcoming technology is stealing from you because you've stolen from everybody else.
Yeah. So I went ahead and asked Chat CoPIlot and said, is the New York Times, is OpenAI, here's what I asked. It says, Is the New York Times allowing OpenAI to get information behind their paywall? And I got the answer. So I guess I should type this before I even say anything on the show, right? So the New York Times has filed a lawsuit against Microsoft and OpenAI for copyright infringement. The lawsuit alleges that OpenAI-powered software will circumvent the Times paywall and reproduce Times articles if asked. So
okay, that's a totally different argument right there.
Yeah.
And regardless of what New York Times long-term plan is for how they operate their newsroom and how they create content, sidestepping their paywall to scrape content, that's a really bad thing. That's stealing.
Yeah.
Well, and then just to add to it, it says, unfortunately, I could not find any information on whether the New York Times is allowing OpenAI to get information behind their paywall. So it can't confirm it. It says it is, but it's not
gonna tattle on itself. In other words,
yeah. So lawyer AI has gotten to it.
Yeah.
I can neither confirm nor deny.
Yeah. So, Ben, what's your thoughts on this whole thing?
Here's the thing on LLMs. They've become a commercial product so quickly that they're basically in the wild before we have any concept of what the rules for them are.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to end up seeing a lot of litigation to basically determine what's allowed and what's not allowed under these large language models and scraping. Ultimately, I think LLMs are going to be kind of the next quote unquote ad model where companies can basically sell their data for money.
Yeah. No. Yeah. It does make sense. So it's going to be interesting. And speaking of AI and OpenAI, I mean, OpenAI, we all knew about ChatGPT. That's been the free thing. That's what started this all. And Google has its Bard, and then Microsoft came along, and at first they integrated it within their Bing search engine and put it as a part of Microsoft Edge in their browser. But now what they've done is they've now come up with a standalone app called CoPIlot. They introduced this back during Microsoft Ignite last year in 2023, and said that this was going to be something that can work along in accordance with a specific app that you download, and you can just have one place to go, and it's going to be available for you to search for things using their standalone app. So right now, it is available on iOS. You can get it on the iPhone, and as well as on iPadOS, as well as the iPad app you can install on a Mac. Because of Apple Silicon, they left that open so you can do it. So I've been using it for a while, and boy, I must say it is very interesting to see where that is. So we have a link in the show notes so you can actually go to the app and download it. So I highly recommend checking it out, because I'm finding it to be more my de facto place to use for search for this. And you guys have you tried this app yet?
I have not tried it yet. I will, because I'm very interested in seeing what all these different companies are doing in this space. I just haven't had a chance yet. On a side note, because apparently I'm the guy that's triggering us going down rabbit holes today. Sorry about that.
That's all right.
I was listening to NPR today, and one of the articles that they had was about Microsoft's just announced requirement for Windows keyboards or Windows compatible keyboards.
Just putting that in the show notes right now.
Oh, great. You saved me from having to go find a link. Thank you. Yeah. So for those of you that don't know what I'm talking about, Windows compatible keyboards moving forward will have to have a special key on the keyboard that's just for CoPIlot.
Yeah. Yeah. Essentially, it's going to be where the print screen key used to be that nobody's used in 30 years.
Yeah. So this is actually the first
without it.
This is the first time
Ask
they've
CoPIlot,
done any
it'll
change.
tell you.
Yeah.
I
30
actually,
years.
when I saw some of the stories that you had in the show notes, I actually went and downloaded CoPIlot, and I've been playing around with it for a little while, trying to get it to make images for me. And I asked it
I saw your images. Yeah.
I asked it to make an image of two angry podcasters. And that ended up just being a complete nightmare. Beautiful. And so finally I said, okay, I want to see 2 podcasters, one with red hair, one that's bald, and with that's blonde. And he gave me an image that I put it up on Facebook.
I'm gonna grab it.
Yeah, that was it was. And then on Facebook, I said, okay, well, here's Gaz and me when we were much, much younger. And I don't know if that would hold enough fascination for me to do it on a regular basis. I know that Carl Madden over at the Mac and Forth show uses Chat GPT to generate his show images almost every single week.
Yes.
But I mean, you really have to have a specific term in order to get something that you want. And even with the terms that I use, I wasn't particularly happy with it, but I also wasn't going to spend, the entire evening trying to come up with a computer generated AI drawing that looked enough like Gaz and me when we were younger to bother with it. So I was like, "Yay,
you have it.
Good enough. Good enough."
I'm looking at that image now.
Yeah.
And
well, that's red hair.
Yeah.
hair. And that's
it'll be in the show notes.
And that's bald.
Yeah, I mean, with Angry Podcasters, I'm surprised it didn't just come up with a photo of Peter.
Yeah. Well, there were some of the images that I saw. I mean, these guys were literally, it was like face to face, just screaming at each other with a microphone in between them. And it was like, well, that's not really what Gaz and I do. So it's like, okay, we'll just skip that part of it.
But yeah, this is another thing that AI can do. I mean, I think our friend Dave Hamilton's been doing it for Mac Geek Gab too. They've been doing it to generate photos every week of different topics. I may even consider it. Who knows? A lot of podcasters are probably already starting to consider this. So, and the same thing with videos. We're starting now with the 60-cent shorts. Do you think I'm spending hours editing that video? No, I'm using an AI generated service that allows me to upload the videos from our show and be able to it automatically picks the most. It thinks the most that they're the most interesting, and it rates it from 100% all the way down, 77%. Tells you, is this going to engage people more? So my God, just that in itself blow my mind. Just getting involved with that too. So it's just endless.
Yeah, I mean, the new logo I have for Roethig Tech is AI generated.
There you go.
It's fascinating.
This is absolutely. I'm now going to become obsessed with this because it's just so much stuff you could do with this now. So, but I think I'm not the only one. And AI is here to stay. And you had the other on the other side of this coin, like we talked about with New York Times, privacy. Is this? Are you going to have privacy with this anymore? No. I mean, corporations are going to are already locking it down because they don't want to have their proprietary and sensitive information be pasted into this search box, because who knows where that information is going to go once you send it in. Mm-hmm. So employees are going to have to be very smart and not be putting things in that specific that only you can see on the company's network, and you should not be putting that kind of information out there. Companies are probably going to, what they're going to do, they're going to take CoPIlot and they're probably going to customize it to make it something somewhat internal, and make it even easier to be able to get that information from their intranet, any information that's out there, to try to put together reports and a lot of the stuff that you can do. But there's a long way to go on this, and you're going to have AI experts. They're going to have the companies hiring people that are going to be AI experts on this stuff. And I just, within this last week, this has finally woken me up to realize how insanely crazy this is and how important it's going to probably become over the next few years. So, great conversation. I think that was just something that was just really good to talk about here. I'm not always big on doing predictions, but I wanted to kind of just talk a little bit about what we kind of want to see with Apple for this year. I know all of us will have some ideas. I reference Mac Rumors. They always have some great stuff here. So I just wanted to kind of touch upon what we know that's going to be coming out here for the next over the next year. I think the first thing that really stands out is Vision Pro. Vision Pro is going to more than likely get released. They're rumoring at the end of this month in January as we record this. But Guy, I haven't had you on in a while. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are with Vision Pro. I know it's not something that for everybody, just because of that $3,500 price point.
Yeah.
But the concept in general. I mean, what are your initial thoughts on what Vision Pro is, and is there a good future for it?
Well, will it integrate with my foldable iPhone? That's what I want to know.
There's that too.
This is it. In the beginning, it's going to be such a niche market, especially at that price point. And the problem that Apple is going to run into, and I'm sure they're well aware of this, is that Facebook or Meta is putting out cheaper and cheaper and cheaper devices that aren't going to be able to do nearly as much stuff, but is going to be 1/10 of the price. And that's going to be a huge problem for Apple, because when you're talking about creating something that's a brand new platform, and that's exactly what this is, especially for Apple, then you have to generate enough sales early on to make it worth the time. And if you look back at the history of Apple going into new spaces, the one huge win that they've had, of course, was the iPhone. But even there was, their expectations were relatively low. I don't know what their expectations are for the Vision Pro, but I can say that most likely you're going to see sales, I'm going to guess, less than 100,000 in the first year, if that. And in order to, this is the chicken and the egg thing. This is the same problem that they have getting game developers to come over to the platform. If you don't have enough users to use the software that third-party developers will make, then the third-party developers are going to tell you to go jump in the lake, that they're not going to bother to put a lot of time and effort into making something for your platform because it's not going to be worth it for them in the long run. Whereas Meta has God knows how many of what do they even call theirs?
West.
Yeah. There's a crap ton of them out there already. And, again, is it going to do as much as what Apple's will do? Probably not. But it's affordable, and it's affordable enough that a mom and or a dad can get one for their kid. And if they break it up, then it's like, okay, it's the same price as like a PlayStation 5. So we'll see what happens with it. But I think Apple's price point is going to be a really big problem for this going forward.
Yeah. Both Ben and Jeff have had some, obviously, thoughts on Vision Pro. Anything else you wanted to add over the last couple of episodes we've talked about, Ben? Why don't you go ahead?
Yeah, kind of building on what Guy said. I think the how quickly they get the actual Vision out, not just the high-end Vision Pro, is going to be the make or break for Vision OS. This product has the chance to either be the next iPhone or the biggest failure that Apple has ever produced. And I think that's exciting in a way, but it's also, for a company that has basically won for the last 15, 20 years, it's new territory.
Yeah, it is. It is. Final thoughts on this, Jeff, what do you think?
Yeah, Ben, totally new territory. You're absolutely right. Just like when the iPhone came out, totally new territory. And Guy, comparing what Apple's doing to what Microsoft is doing in headsets is totally unfair and completely fair at the same time. Unfair because these are not even close to the same category or even the same kind of device, but fair because consumers just see a goggle thing you stick on your face.
Yep.
And what I see out of this is that Um, Meta Quest is to Vision Pro what Amazon Fire Tablet is to iPad.
Mm-hmm.
It's a product that's super cheap and is essentially disposable. And if you want the really good thing, then you get the thing from Apple instead. And slow rollout, absolutely. Guy, your estimate of maybe 100,000, I think, is high.
Yep,
and I think Apple is expecting that as well, and they are planning accordingly. And those high-end buyers are going to be the people that help form what the future of the Vision platform will be. And I think Apple has planned this out very well. They're playing a very long tail game here with a new platform. Yeah. So they will eventually have a not Pro Vision that comes out.
Yeah.
And, I think with the game Apple's playing, it doesn't have to be in 12 or 24 months. It can be a little bit longer than that.
Mm-hmm. I'm guessing about 5 years.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, that sounds about right. That's Vision Pro. The other thing which was surprising last year in 2023 that Apple did not release a brand new iPad. I mean, they hadn't done that in that was the 12 years they were continually, even if it was modest updates to the iPad. So that nothing was released this last year. So, they're bound to have to do it. Nothing new.
Not single. There was a pencil. That was the only iPad product.
Yeah. There wasn't even an update to any of the iPads last year.
Nope.
None.
Wow.
Even the low end model.
Realize that.
So there was for this is the very first time since the iPad was released. So there's bound to have something coming out for the iPad. Now the biggest thing is the OLED iPad Pros. And they're going to be probably releasing them with OLED displays for the very first time. I can expect that to happen, and they'll be as impressive as iPhone screens. And also, I would go under that anticipation that's going to be they'll probably be bumping up the processor. You may even see an M3 the processor in an iPad Pro, so that's going to be interesting. As well as potentially, you could even think about more storage because people are going to want to use this device more and more as more of a dedicated device versus a Mac or a PC for that matter. Could go 4 terabytes of storage space. I can imagine how ungodly expensive that'll be, but I think that's some of the things you could see on the iPad Pro. Jeff, what do you think on iPad? What do you think the Pro is going to be that of a high end device? Do you think Apple's going to go head it up that high?
Yeah, kind of. So high end M2 processor of some sort, or an M3, especially since we didn't get anything new in 2023. Right. This feels like the year that we're going to see some significant changes to the iPad lineup across the board. And my Jedi instincts are telling me that's why we didn't see anything with the iPad line in 2023, because there's some big things that are coming. And that's kind of cool and exciting. Also very concerning, because I fear that 2024 could be a very expensive year for me.
Yeah. You being a big iPad user.
Yeah. I still haven't upgraded my current iPad Pro to an M series. So I have the model right before M series.
Yeah.
And it's an awesome iPad, but this might be the year where I just have to suck it up and get a new one and move to Apple Silicon. That's already Apple Silicon. The M series
M3
processors,
possibly, or M2.
Yeah.
So I think Apple's got a big thing to come up with here because it's way overdue, and then we got to get up to where technology is now. What do you think, Ben, on iPads? Do you think you agree with Jeff on this?
Yeah, I think we got a huge preview at the end of 2022 with the iPad 10, where the future mid-range and Pro ones will be going. Essentially, they will be going to a landscape rather than portrait device. But yeah, they're going to get better screens, faster processors, and essentially start being treated like a computer rather than a large iPhone.
Yeah. How about you, Guy? I mean, you have an iPad, but are you a big user of the iPads?
I am. I actually have. I went because I had that 2018 iPad Pro that I got from Warren, and excuse me, I went ahead and bit the bullet a year and a half ago and got an M1 iPad Pro. And it's a great device. The problem with it is the problem that the iPad has always had, which is getting the iPad OS to get out of the way and letting people do some of the things that they want to do with it. Multitasking is still pretty much garbage on an iPad. It needs a decent file manager besides the makeshift one that it has now.
Yeah.
And multitasking on an iPad can be done, but it involves you doing this ballet of movement and motion in order to get everything lined up so that it'll do some of the things that you want it to do. And this is coming from someone who in 2013 or 2014 went to the Macworld Expo with nothing but a microphone and an iPad, recorded video, recorded podcasts, did all of that stuff on a 2012 iPad in an area or in an event like the Macworld Expo. And it worked. I got it to do everything that I wanted it to do. It wasn't easy, and it took about 2 to 3 times longer than it would have on a Mac. But the point was to see if I could make it happen, and I did. And all of those things are still capable now, and are in fact a little bit easier than it was back then. But Apple needs to decide if they want the iPad to truly be a computer or just a content, a device that you're looking at content on, which is what probably most people that own iPads is doing right now.
Yep. So we'll have to go through all the other iPads. Are probably going to be probably more than likely will be released. You can anticipate they're going to update the iPad Air that's overdue, and the price point, as well as their talk of rumors of an iPad Mini. The Mini may still stay in its slower side of the processing spectrum, only because it's a smaller device. Audio devices will definitely be of a change, where the AirPods, there might be a generation 4 that comes out. The AirPods Max are insanely overdue. That was released in 2019, so we're talking almost 5 years now at this point.
I have a hypothesis there.
Please,
yeah.
Okay, my hypothesis is that Apple has been working on their own wireless protocol for high-res audio, and it hasn't progressed as quickly as they thought it would. But I'm betting that they've got it worked out, and we will see this year another update to AirPods Pro, and we'll see an update to AirPods Max that give us that true high-res audio experience wirelessly
with more bandwidth.
Yeah.
I mean, so it won't be transmitting over Bluetooth for that.
No.
I
mean, they already have their own audio and video codec standards that they themselves have either bought or created. So it's just a question of, are those codecs small enough, and can we develop a device with enough bandwidth to push it to the devices that people are buying from us?
I think the answer is yes. And I think it's likely we'll see that this year.
Yep. So that's there's quite a bit of potential here that could be out with this. Other thing we could talk about is iPad accessories. I think there'll be a new Pencil 3. Be interesting to see if that happens. The Magic Keyboard. I think they're going to probably do some improvements on that. They're going to probably have to because they're making some changes.
They need to make the Magic Keyboard available for more versions of the iPad as well.
Yeah, I agree. Or universalize it of some way, even on the low end. I mean, you're probably going to have a new low end iPad as well that'll be updated. So it's going to be interesting to see where those accessories are, as well as, oh my God, guys, let's get the Mac side of things. That Magic Keyboard, get a USB-C connector and that magic mouse
trackpad, and
the magic trackpad and the magic mouse. Move the port from the bottom to the front. And
how about an M3 Mac Studio? For the love of God,
that will come.
It may come. So we're gonna.
That's what I've been waiting for.
Potentially a new Mac Mini too, because that's a bit overdue as well. So
yeah.
So I think we got a lot to look forward to with Apple. I can't imagine that there aren't already a lot of the stuff's already not on the drawing board, already progressing quite nicely to see as we cover it this year for a lot of this stuff for this. So definitely going to be interesting. With that, let's talk a little bit. I didn't talk about the app. Let me talk about that real quick with the CoPIlot app that we did talk about earlier with AI. I'll just specifically to give more of that. I got the app linked in the show notes here on the app, and just go out and check it out. As I said, you got it on iPhone, you got it on iPad, and you got it on Mac. Take a look at that. And then this app was released by Microsoft, and definitely a good thing to check out. So we got some news stories I'd like to cover here real quick. First one is T-Mobile. I've been using this app since its inception, the T-Mobile Tuesdays, and for the most part, they tend, being a T-Mobile customer, they tend to have some pretty cool things, including MLB at bat, the MLB TV that you get. They give that for free every year, which is awesome. That if you're a baseball fan, that's a $200 value right there by itself. Now they're going to do is they're going to sunset the actual app, T-Mobile Tuesdays, and they'll be release a new one called T-Life. The Tuesday events will be live in the new app, and it looks like it's going to be available for both T-Mobile and Metro customers. You'll still be able to get all kinds of the perks and all that kind of fun stuff, and nothing I think really is going to change other than just I think Apple just is changing the branding, because I think the T-Mobile Tuesday was getting kind of old, honestly. Go ahead, Ben.
I'd completely forgotten that it was there.
Yeah,
I haven't gone on a Tuesday to their app in probably a couple of years.
So this is all your fault, is what I'm hearing.
Yes, exactly. I'll tell. Hey, throw it on me. I'm good.
You ever thought that?
Fire.
Yeah. Honestly, I think the way it's worded in the Cord Cutters news app is or headline is slightly misleading. From the context, essentially, the T-Life will be a new version of T-Mobile Tuesdays. You're not going to have to download a brand new app if you already have the T-Mobile Tuesdays app. It's just going to be become the new app.
Yeah, I think it's just more of a branding change, if anything.
Yeah.
Any thoughts, Jeff?
They're always messing around with this stuff. Yeah. So changing the name also makes it easier for them to do special promotions on other days.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I change up the days. It'd be kind of fun.
Yeah.
So, and speaking of other new offers, now you already get Netflix as part of your package. Now they're going to offer Hulu as the ad-based version as a free perk to subscribers. There's a catch though. I'm a
There's
Magenta.
a huge catch.
I'm a Magenta plan customer, which I have an amazing rate, and I am not changing to their Go 5G Next plan because the price will go up insanely high. But of course, you get the perks of Hulu and Netflix and all this other free stuff that you get. So trying to entice people to switch. So read the fine print, folks, when you look at this. Yeah, T-Mobile says it's Netflix, Hulu, Apple TV Plus, and MLB.TV adds up to more than $35 a month or $400 a year in benefits. Okay, so the
T-Mobile.
So now they look at what's that?
That's the T-Mobile part. I'm sorry, I started talking over you. Sorry about that. The T-Mobile part. Excuse me. The Netflix part. Holy crap! Not quite as enticing as it was yesterday, because T-Mobile just announced that they're adding in ads to Netflix. So you no longer get the ad-free version of Netflix with your
so they're going cheap. They're going cheap on it.
They're giving me a credit, and I think that's going to stay the same, whatever the cost of that particular thing is. But I'm still paying for the HD version of Netflix, so I get a little bit off on what I pay for Netflix. But so I'll go up to like $16 now, unfortunately. So
okay,
but I'm still going to save more than what I would pay without this discount.
Yeah. Okay. So that's cool. People that aren't paying for the upgraded version, though, they now get ads in Netflix.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. And here's the one bit of fine print on the Hulu. Yep. This free ad supported Hulu is the only thing that Disney and T-Mobile are offering. You cannot upgrade to ad free. You cannot upgrade to anything with the Disney bundle. And I actually confirmed this with representatives of T-Mobile that it will be a free ads version of Hulu only. So if you're somebody who is having the bundle, instead of having basically like $5 or $6 off, you're basically getting $2 off of what you would pay.
Right. So, yeah, don't make sure you read the fine print. I'm glad you just got that good information from Ben, and to realize that, just stick with what you got. It's not going to give you much. And then plus you got to raise your cost of your plan. And it's not worth it.
And then deal with ads.
And that too.
Yeah.
Couple other Apple stories here. Apple did fix a music bug that was related to the add playlist songs setting. Last month there was a lot of people complaining about with many Apple Music subscribers that the add playlist songs setting was broken on the iPhone, iPad, and sometimes even on the Mac. And after a user would toggle off the setting, the bug could cause it to turn back on, resulting in any songs that you had added to the playlist being added to their music library would be just in an unwanted manner. Fortunately, it appears that Apple quickly addressed the bug with a server-side fix, and users are no longer impacted by this issue. Given it was a server-side fix, users do not need to update their devices or go to a newer software version. But Apple never publicly announced this bug, so it is interesting that this happened, and then Apple just decided to just fix it and don't say anything, right?
It's no surprise at all. Apple fixing something and not talking about a problem.
Yeah.
So it's like it's Thursday or something.
Right. The real news would have been if they'd been incredibly transparent about the whole thing, talked about where the problem was, what was triggering it, and all the steps they took to address the issue. And then made a big announcement once the fix was in place, and then apologized to everyone for the problems that it caused.
And gave them a U2 album.
I'm still amazed people are
still upset about
that. Here's free music. Oh my God, you violated my privacy. No, we just gave you free music.
We gave you an album.
But still, it's just like, something not working. What you guys talking about? It just works.
Yeah.
Right. Stop holding it wrong, Ben.
Yeah. Come on. Next story here. Apple Fitness Plus is now launching sound meditations, workouts for golfers, and more. Our friend Chuck Joy is probably going to like that. I don't know if he even uses Fitness Plus for that matter.
Yeah.
He will now.
He will now. For 2024, Apple Fitness Plus is going to get some new ways to stay active and mindful. Headlining the update is, like I said, sound meditations, a range of themes that have a new program called Strength, Core, and Yoga for golfers, featuring a record-breaking athlete, Rose Zhang, new episodes of Time to Walk, and more.
Yoga for golfers.
Yeah, I'm just picturing a bunch of guys in plaid pants trying to do double dog down or something. It's like,
right.
no.
They bend over and you don't hear anyone saying "and breathe." You hear them going, I'm stuck.
And now the tideless stretch.
Oh, I get that joke.
Yeah, I got it right away. So there's a link in the show notes here about more of the information about this particular update. Apple actually released a news release on it, so check that out. So it's definitely going to be some more added bonuses for Fitness Plus. And finally, we wrap up this the show this week. I had to not mention this. Do you miss the physical keyboards? There's a new Clicks accessory that adds keys to your iPhone. You know, BlackBerry fans are truly missing that physical keyboard on their smartphones, and they may want to check out Clicks. It's a company that's now developed a keyboard case that's designed for the iPhone 14 Pro and 15 Pro models. Clicks is showing off its keyboard. It's going to be ahead at CES. Be interesting to hear what our friend Chuck Joyner will hopefully come across that. I'll make sure I get to share this with him. He isn't already going to check this out. And it's going to be released in mid-March, and it's going to be $159. And they're going to release also one for the 15 Pro Max in the spring. It's available in Bumblebee Yellow, London Sky Gray, and adds a small physical keyboard to the bottom of the iPhone. This is ungodly. I don't know if I would ever want this thing. What do you think, Ben?
It's for a very, very specific audience.
Yes.
Considering who is the two people kind of behind this company, you have Mr. Mobile and Crackberry Kevin, formerly of Mobile Nations before he was bought out by Future. The one irony to this, especially with it coming out at CES, is that about 10 years ago, I worked with GeekBeat. We jointly did the CES coverage with Mobile Nation. So at that event, I have had chances to interact professionally with Kevin a bit. I can tell you this, with him behind it, this is not going to be some cheapo plastic thing that you get on.
Not for that price.
No. It's going to be a high quality product. I just don't know how many people there are to buy it other than Kevin.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Guy, I know you miss your BlackBerry. Don't you want to go on and get this?
Yeah. You know, with these big sausage-like fingers, I would just love to have a keyboard that's the size for an iPhone. Please, give me some of that.
Yeah, honestly, I wish this was out about 5 to 6 years ago.
Yeah. Maybe.
Now, when you fold it out, does it like expand? No? Sorry.
It doesn't even look like it folds out. It's
literally like it's like a battery case that's a keyboard.
Yeah, I think it stays in that position at all times.
Mm-hmm.
And it connects over USB-A.
That's right.
All
right, Jeff. Last word. I know you have thoughts.
Okay, I thought this was a joke at first. Seriously.
No, it's not.
And no, it's not. And this product is about 8 years too late.
Yeah.
And
wasn't there something like this already out at one point?
Yes, there were multiple somethings like this out over the years, and none of those things are around anymore.
No.
Now, this may be a really high quality product. I don't think it's going to be successful.
I'd be surprised. But if they're at CES, they put some pretty big investment into showing this product off.
That's a serious commitment going to CES. Yeah. But for something like this, they kind of need to do that because they need to have companies, resellers buying this up. And if you're going to make it happen, you're going to make it happen at CES.
Mm-hmm. Does CES have a tiny town equivalent?
Yes, but it's like all these little booths where everything is in Japanese or Korean and
Martian.
And, actually, I've never seen Russian in that area. That's funny, but it's all these little booths with just the most weird things.
Yeah.
Tentacles.
And tentacles,
yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
For those who are watching live, Brian F., thanks for being here tonight on youtube.com/intouchwithios. He had a comment about this case and said it seems like there's always going to be a segment of the population that likes a physical keyboard for their iPhone.
Yeah.
Yes, there's probably a segment of the population that likes peanut butter on their iPhone as well. Doesn't mean it's a large enough segment to make the product successful. But for both people that really want this is probably going to be a really nice product.
Yeah. Get it while it's still there because it probably won't last long.
It won't last long. Good way to wrap up the show for this week. A fun way of looking at a keyboard that no one wants their iPhone. So. What a great show. This was just a lot of great discussions, a lot of great topics. I appreciate everybody being here and listening and you guys here as well. So let's go ahead and wrap up for this week. That's a wrap for this week. Please send your comments, questions, and suggestions to our email address, which is feedback@intouchwithios.com. You can follow us on Mastadon, which is at intouchwithios at techhangout.social. Support the show by buying me a coffee at intouchwithios.com/coffee. We would really appreciate it. You can become a patron of the show by going to patreon.com/intouchwithios. We have 2 tiers available to support the show. We would really appreciate it. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe so you're notified when we are live streaming, which is at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Pacific, on our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/intouchwithios, where you can watch the current and live past streams and past live streams as well as listen to past shows. Visit In Touch with iOS magazine on Flipboard, where many of the topics we discuss are flipped into that magazine. The link is in our show notes. You can subscribe to the show in your favorite podcatcher, including Pocket Casts, Overcasts, Apple Podcasts, and many others. But better yet, just go to our website at intouchwithios.com, where all the links to all the ways to listen to us are there. I am Dave Ginsburg, and you can find me on Mastodon at DaveG65 at Mastodon.cloud. And Guy Serle, it was so great to have you back.
It was good to be back. I've been trying to get to get back out and get on other people's shows again, and it's just things happen.
They do happen, but you were here and we had a blast. So where can people find you?
Thank you. I appreciate it.
And where are you? We're gonna find you.
Okay. Plug my stuff. There we go. Plug my stuff. You can find myself and Gaz over on the mymac.com podcast, where we've been doing this crazy round trip around the world since 2009. Coming up on show 960, I think, next week. Nice. You can find me over on the X Twitters. I'm Mac Parrot and Vert Shark over there. I'm on Mastodon.social. Find me there as Vert Shark, as well as Counter Social and Threads, and of course, I guess that's about it. That's all I really need to plug, is that all that stuff right there. We have a Google Voice number that I can't remember, but if you go on over to the mymac.com website and look at any of the mymac.com podcast little articles there, you'll find the number there. It's a Google Voice number. We love getting feedback, so call us direct, but call us today. Yeah.
Thanks so much, Guy.
Thank you.
Ben Roethig, so glad you were able to make it this week. Where can people find you?
Well, Dave, you can find me at Ben Roethig on social media, and that is on your social media of choice. It pays
I
to be
just
the
saw
only
what
one
you
in
put in
the
the
world.
chat.
Oh, easy. Go ahead, Rebecca.
Yep. You can find my website at Roethig.tech. That website will soon be going over a bit of a transition. But the original blogger website will still be
Kitty.
available. Yep. New kitty. During the transition. On Tuesdays, you can find me on Mac Voices with Mr. Chuck Joyner. On Thursday and Fridays, you can find me on the Big and Mac shows with Mr. Jeff Gamet as the interim host. And of course, every Thursday, you can find me here on In Touch with iOS.
Thanks so much, Ben. Glad you made it.
How long
and
have
last-
you been the interim host there, Jeff?
Well, go ahead.
Longer
You can
than
go ahead and
Steve
close out
Jobs
Jeff,
interim host.
and you can answer that. Thanks for being here, Jeff. Where can people find you?
Okay, social medias. Jay Gamet on pretty much everything. Mastadon, Instagram, Threads. That's where I'm posting stuff right now. Then for podcasts, Tuesdays, Chuck Joyner's Mac Voices Live. And then here on Thursdays with you, Dave, on In Touch with iOS. Then on the British Tech Network, Thursdays for the Big Show, Fridays for the Mac Show. And Brian Chaffin and I, we do the Context Machine. Guy, to answer your question, I've been the interim host for at least 4 years, probably longer.
Yeah. At what point are you just the host?
We could talk about that after the show.
Yeah.
But thanks so much for being here, Jeff. I appreciate it. And thank you for listening. I really appreciate you listening to the show. What a great start to the new year in 2024. We got plenty more to talk about. Next week is CES, so I'll be kind of scanning the news to see what all kinds of great stuff that is being announced. I can get the press releases and a lot of information. So we'll definitely be having some CES coverage over the next couple weeks. But until then, appreciate you listening, and we'll talk again soon.